is Theresa Perkins, editor and host of Exposure Spotlight Magazine. I am Theresa Perkins, editor and host of Exposure, Spotlight Magazine and Talk Show, where your voice matters. Today we have a very special guest. He is a musician, vocalist, guitar player, composer, producer, promoter, and well known for developing a style of music that is referred to as Louisiana blues, soul, funk, and reggae. He is the founder of the Hit City Digital Records. It is a privilege, it is an honor. Let's welcome the one and the only, Mr. Henry Turner Jr. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm awesome, and thank you for such a great intro. Man, I'm almost about to believe that stuff myself. That sounds good, man. I like that. I like that, Theresa.
You are that and more. Look, I've been hearing so much about you. And listen, before we get into our conversation, as a matter of fact, I don't know if you're familiar with my father, George Perkins, who recorded the song "Crying in the Streets." Well,
crying in the street.
One of them.
How can a broke man survive?
How can a broke? That is.
I'm serious. You know, when I was in radio, I brought him down to KKAY radio station, but I knew the legend of George Perkins for so long because 25 years after he recorded "Crying in the Street." I ended up on the same label with a guy named Ebtide.
Oh,
and that was the guy that put the song out, "Crying in the Street."
Yeah.
And so I knew the whole story, the whole legend, and then I ended up in radio after that. And I ended up interviewing him on the radio, and so I met him a couple times. He's a really cool guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How awesome is that? So listen, one of the musicians, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if he's still with you or not, but Mr. Larry Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is he still with you or no?
Larry just kind of retired. He kind of went through some things, and he's temporarily in a nursing home right now. But Larry was with me for years. I mean, years, like over 10 years. And,
I know. He would call me up and say, "Theresa, I want you to come and hear our group. I'm playing for the legend himself, Mr. Henry Turner." Yeah, he would call me up all the time, and he was so excited about playing for you. He really was. So I just had to mention
delighted
that.
to have him. Yeah, we're delighted to have him, and we've enjoyed working with him, man, for years. And he worked with your dad as well. He was a big George Perkins fan and a Theresa Perkins fan.
Larry
Perkins fan. Larry. Yeah, Larry was something else, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
and
to.
I know your brother. I know your brother really well too.
Ronnie. Oh, okay, Ronnie Rude Perkins.
Ronnie Rude Boy Perkins. I remember when he took on the name Rude Boy, and I remember Lil Jesse and all. Oh yeah. I used to go out to Denham Springs with me and Ronnie. Used to roll out to Denham Springs to Tommy Perkins Club. Yeah. And then I got one for you. I'm gonna blow you away. my father was friends with Buck Perkins.
Get out of here.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And you know, I tell Ronnie this funny story all the time because sometimes me and Ronnie talk. You know, we'll go back, and Ronnie used to come over to my house, my mother and father's house, when we were like, you know, teenagers. You know, well, you know, 18, 19, 20, and stuff like that. And Ronnie would be coming over to Baton Rouge, you know, to get into the music game. And I was in a band called Crystal Band, and Ronnie was a vocalist. And come over and he auditioned for the band, and we worked with him a little bit and did some things. And I told him this funny story about Mr. Buck, right? We used to go out there, and my dad and a guy named Snookum, right? And we used to go out there and hang out, man. And just sometimes we go to the house, you know, and your grandmother would be making popcorn balls, and she'd have all kind of stuff at the house. And man, one day we were sitting on the porch, and Buck said, he told me, he said, Junior, he said, reach over there, man, and give him my shotgun, man. And I need it. And I said, shotgun? He said, yeah. So your grandmother was listening to him, you know, whatever. And then so he said, yeah, man, I see the biggest squirrel, man. He said, I'm finna get him, man. And the Ciola said, Buck, if you shoot at my cat one more time, I'm gonna kill you. You know, he thought the cat was a squirrel. He was looking for his gun, man, to shoot a cat. Oh man, he was old. You know, he was an old man.
But he also had that nickname called Hot Dang. Look, Dang.
Oh, yeah.
He was something.
So yeah,
everybody knew when he was coming. Huh?
I knew the Perkins. You know.
Oh
and,
wow, I can tell.
Yeah, we have some history.
Wow, you just called my grandmother like yesterday, and it's been, you know, since 1984 she passed away. But yeah, oh, most certainly. Oh wow, that is so amazing.
I've heard about you for a while too. Your brother was telling me about you in the early days when you was doing a lot of stuff, you know. So I knew of you. I just had never met you. You know, I knew of you though.
Oh, okay.
It's a small world, man.
It is, really. It is. I feel like family here. This is family.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah, so again, it is an honor to interview you because, I mean, look, you like I said, you are a legend yourself, and you have so much to offer and has offered to this community, to the state of Louisiana, as well as throughout the nation, the world. But I want to ask you this. I want you to share with us, how did you really get involved in the music industry?
I think for the most part, you know, most of it was coincidental. You know, when I was a young kid, I was fascinated with drums. I was first a drummer. And I was in, you know, drums in school and stuff like that. And I loved the guitar, but the guitar for me was just an instrument that I chose because I wanted to write songs and do stuff. And when I started getting into that, as you know, like I remember like tying a rubber band to a piece of stick and just plucking the rubber band, you know, just to hear it go boing, boing, boing. And my dad would say, what are you doing, man? I said, playing guitar, you know. So one of those times when we went over to like the Western Auto store, you know, he was like, go in and look at some guitars, man, see if you see something you like, you know. And he had an account with Western Auto, so he bought me a guitar. And that started my query into actually trying to learn to play some music. And then some of the early guys like Zach the Cat, some of the guys like Arthur Guitar Kelly, my father knew all of them. My father was a former club owner, but by the time I was born, he was a deacon in a church. And but all of these people were family friends. And I remember like we had rental rooms. My father always had like rooms that he rented out. And he would always build like a room or two in the backyard and all that kind of stuff, you know, so for some extra income. And this guy, Arthur Guitar Kelly, used to live in one of those rooms, and he was like a little folk legend in the community. And basically what he did, he played house parties and suppers, you know, and then there was a couple places in the community that it was like a 24-hour supper. You know, it just went on all the time. And so he would play in his room all the time. And once he found out I was interested in guitar, he would help me, you know, kind of figure out a couple things on the guitar. And then eventually, when my father saw that I was serious about it, him and my mother got me guitar lessons. So, you know, that was probably, you know, like 10 years old, 11 years old when I was doing that kind of stuff. And by the time I was like 15, I had discovered a guy by the name of Stanley Winston Edwards. And he was a gospel artist. He went to Stanley Winston and his Soulful Sisters. And ironically, him and your dad had came from the same record label. And and it was, he had a song called No More Ghettos in America that was a hit at the same time your dad had his hit on the same label, right? So we ended up meeting this guy somehow in the neighborhood while playing music. He heard us playing in the garage, our little band at the time, and we became like a backup singer, backup band for him as a singer. And that led him to introducing me to Eptide, right? Because naturally he had worked with him years before. By the time I was like 17, 18, our little band Crystal had started forming. And in the early stages, even before we called it Crystal Band, and then by the time I was 19, we was, you know, doing top 40 gigs. We started learning the top 40 and all that stuff and moving around. And that's how Ronnie, your brother, found out about us and people like that. And then Homer Schiller, of course, had Paul Adams book us, and I know you know who Homer Schiller is. And you know, at the same time, the Royal Shillettes was going on and all that stuff at WXOK, and you know, so one thing led to another. We was meeting people like Solomon Kincaid, and we all became friendly. We recorded our first record, I think it was 1983, something like that, with Crystal Band, and we started there. And then that band lasted a few years, and my friendship and relationship with Eptide, when the band busted up, I started producing records and doing things and working with his record label. And the first thing we did was took unreleased, stuff that we thought we had released, but it really was unreleased. And we released it in the UK through Eptide's label. Because remember, he had hits with your dad, Stanley Winston, Frank Guitro, and a bunch of other people. So he had plenty of connections. He was connected to Mars Levy in New York. He had a bunch of stuff in the UK, and he was an East Coast record guy himself. He had actually come from the East Coast. So that particular release led to a series of releases in my solo career. And when I remember the first record I put out with Eptide was a record called The Subway Vigilante. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was basically about the Bernhard Goetz story. And the guy, he had shot like 5 youth on the New York subway. And when that happened, Eptide was at home visiting in New Jersey. And he gave me a call, and he was like, man, these 5 youth just got shot on the New York subway yesterday. He said, if you can write a song really quick, we probably could plug it. And he said, you know, you got a short period of time, because once the majors get on it, it's over, you know. So, I mean, I jumped right in the studio with some folks, and I wrote the song, Subway Vigilante. You know, 3 days later, man, we were doing satellite shoots to New York, and, you know, WRKS in New York, the whole nine, and, you know, and henceforth, you know, career just started. And from that point forward, I've just been putting out music and, you know, learning more and more about the business. I was introduced to the music industry flowchart when I was 19, and I started practicing that. And then I started promoting and producing by 1990. In the 90s, you know, funk music, top 40 music was dying, right? And you know, ushering in rap and hip hop and all the other stuff. And I was kind of desperate for a direction. So I leaned on something that I stumbled on too early in my career with Crystal Band. I leaned on reggae, and I started learning reggae music. And I used to go to this music conference I've been going to it for 30 years, called the Cutting Edge Music Conference. I don't know if you know about
I heard
that.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in California.
It's actually out of New York.
Okay.
I mean, well, actually, it's based out of New Orleans.
Oh,
but it's everywhere. But it's based out of New Orleans now.
okay.
And they've interacted with a lot of different conferences. But I've been a part of that conference. But during that conference in 1996, I think it was, they scheduled I had been a reggae band for a few years by then, playing around the state. And they scheduled a audition with Sunsplash Reggae founder and also the Bob Marley Festival annual tour. And they scheduled auditions in Louisiana, and they were going to audition the Louisiana Reggae bands to be a part of the tour. And we went to that particular conference to showcase for that tour. When we got there, the first thing we found out was Sunsplash Reggae founder died 2 days before the Cutting Edge.
Oh wow!
Right. So you know, the only people there were the annual Bob Marley Festival people, and you know, since I had some record company experience and a bunch of other things, they had me on a round table. It was back in the guerrilla marketing days. That was the days when we used to go out and plaster up the streets with flyers and, you know, do all kind of crazy stuff to promote things. And people were doing it all over the country. And they had this panel on it at the conference because they had like, I don't know if you remember Funky Larry Jones, but Larry McKinley. And all of his older brothers who like with Senator Jones with Help Me Records and all those people that your dad would have known. And so it was all Black independent record companies and stuff like that. And it was talking about how they take small budgets and promote and market. And they threw me on that panel because, you know, I came from record companies. I did a little time in radio, and then I had a, you know, independent band at the time that was doing pretty good. You know, Henry Turner Jr. flavor, and we were like Louisiana Reggae Funk at that time. Mm-hmm. So on this panel, man, we encountered this guy from Houston, from SV Kyles and Associates, and he's basically he had worked with Don Cornelius and the Soul Train folks, Johnson and Johnson, and all those people, and he was on there, and he started talking about what it takes for him to market and how much money and blah 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 blah, and he was talking about, you know, $150,000-$200,000 to promote. Mm-hmm. You know, places like New Orleans, Jackson, Mississippi, Pensacola, that kind of stuff, you know. And we were all laughing, you know, because we all like independent guys, you know, we could take $5,000 and do wonders, you know. So we were all like laughing and carrying on. And we had this big old discussion. And finally, you know, after everybody put their marketing strategy on the table and how they operated, you know, the moderator was just like, wow, this is a lot of information. But at the end of the day, everybody learned something from everybody else. You know, we learned, you know, I mean, I had some mentors and people who had taught me about advertising and how to buy rotators cheap and you know, the difference between prime and all the different other segments and how to make a rotator fall into prime and this, that, and the other. So I had a lot of tricks, but a lot of the other guys had a lot of tricks too. And so we went through the whole gamut at that round table. So when it was over, the founder of the conference is a personal friend of mine. That's why I've kind of been working with it for like 30 years. You know, he came to me and he said, man, you know, let's do lunch, and then I'm going to introduce you to the guy from the Bob Marley Festival tour. So we did lunch and all of that. And he go to introduce me to the guy from the Bob Marley Festival tour. And behold, it's the guy, SV Kyles and Associates, right? So the guy, he walks up to me and he goes, man, if this is the guy you're going to introduce me to, I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, the guy's on the tour. I haven't even heard him play. He's on the tour. You know, we started touring and doing stuff, and that led to 5 or 6 years of doing 22 U.S. major cities.
Wow.
A year, right? And the largest shows we did was like 60,000 people in Buffalo Bayou Park in Houston, which is now Ellen Detention Park. And some of the smaller shows we do would be like maybe somewhere like Galveston, Texas, where we might do 15,000 people. But we
Wow.
could do 30,000 in San Antonio. We could go
Wow.
to Kennedy Park in Tucson and do 25,000. You know, I mean, it was so. And I had walked in on the tour when I was like 13 years old, so they had built the tour, and they started it with like the Marleys and all of that. So Rita Marley, you know, all of her kids had been on it, but by the time I got on it, it was called the next generation of superstars, because it was all independent people, right? Just using the Bob name and the Bob music and all of that, and just breaking all these artists, and we just happened to be one of those. And I was on that tour for almost 8 years, so we became synonymous, obviously across the country in different markets. And then once those markets developed, and the tour ended and it split into two fashions, I started doing a tour called the New Louisiana Legends Tour, because I didn't want to come home. So I just created a tour and kept on going.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I would reach out to like people that were on the Bob Marley Festival tour. Like, for instance, you had people like Carlton Pride and Zion. And Carlton Pride was the son of Charlie Pride, the eldest son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you had these interesting people who came off the tour, and I could call them up because I knew them and we had all hung out together and party. And I could just call them up and say, hey man, I'm gonna be in Houston and I need you guys on the show. And they'd be like, okay, when? And so we had fun, man, for a couple of years just doing that. And I would grab people like Jean Knight, a lady that recorded the song Mr. Big Stuff.
Oh,
and
okay.
put her on a date or something, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then I started really digesting the festival market, because obviously after being on the circuit for 8 years, we're doing festivals, because it was a festival tour, right? So I became fascinated with the power of a festival, and the theory behind that is that if you do a concert, and you have one or two bands, you get the following of one or two bands. But if you do a festival and you do a two-day festival and do 20 bands, obviously you get the influence of 20 bands plus their following and the influence of their following. So you can do much larger numbers, and still accomplish the same goal. So I started toying with that. And when I started producing festivals, some of the old Bob Marley people, like some of the staff, they figured out I was doing it, and they said, man, we'd love to join you and do it. And I was like, wow, you guys would really come on board with me? I mean, so I stumbled my way into a lot of different things, So the music business for me was like coincidental and intentional at the same time, because I always planned to be in it. As my father used to say, man, you'll find any kind of way you can to do some music, and obviously, you're not looking for a job. So,
Was your father, was he a musician?
No, he was not. The closest he came to it, he was a club owner for years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, wow. But he wasn't a musician. But my mother was a singer. My mother was a church singer.
Oh, okay.
Singing church choirs and stuff like that.
So do you do a little gospel as well?
I grew up singing church songs. I'm not gonna say I do a little gospel. Stanley Winston and your dad and people like that was doing the gospel stuff and all of that. But I was the kind of guy that would just be playing the guitar in the background and going, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, but we gotta go down to the club, man, because we finna bust loose. We're gonna play some funk. We're gonna do some Rick James, baby.
Yes,
I was that kind of guy, So, I've been involved with some gospel things. Obviously, like working with people like Stanley Winston and Solomon Kincaid. We encountered everybody from Shirley Caesar on down, because they was promoting and producing those shows and concerts. Gospel Music Workshop of America. When Eula May Hatter was around, and Darryl Glasper, and all those people. Archbishop Josita Williams is a personal friend of mine. Her godmother, Fran Harden, was James Cleveland's best friend, Fran's House of Music. And she died in Louisiana. She was here for the last probably 8-9 years of her life. So obviously, I had some connections there and I knew some people, but I never wanted to be a gospel singer or a gospel. I mean, I love playing the music now. I used to just get off on playing, the guitar and the groove and all of that. But in my whole life, I wanted to be a music business entrepreneur. I was just, like predestined to do that. And I tried my hand at a little bit of everything.
That's awesome. Look, tell us a little bit more too about the Henry Turner listening room that you have. Is this? Okay. Yeah, share that, because we have the
listening room. The listening room is what I call my living room, my front porch. It's like when I grew up, it was a front porch culture in Baton Rouge, and people just kind of gathered and showed what you do. Touring and traveling across the country and playing in clubs, I learned one major thing about that scene that was a constant, but at the same time a nagging thing for me, was that clubs are about alcohol, right? And they're over glorified, drug dealers, because they're alcohol dealers, and their main thing is to get people drinking so they can make some money. And I've been around all types of club owners, good ones, bad ones, the dirty ones, the clean ones, the ones who would get a bunch of people drunk and then call the police department and say, oh yeah, we got us something tonight. Or, on the road, I saw all this kind of stuff. Or the ones who would say, I'm taking your car keys because you can't drive. So the house concerts on the East Coast was kind of like their way of protesting the clubs and saying, we're not going to get into this game with you about the alcohol. We just want to really share some good music and gain some fan base and things of that nature. So the listening room concept grew out of house parties, and I went a step further. I did a non-alcohol listening room, and the reason I did that, the reason I did that is because I wanted it to be about the music and not about, getting drunk.
Coming there to drink and
right, so
to go home.
Yeah, then I went a step further. I made it all original. So if you write and produce your own music, or if you're looking to collaborate, stuff like that, the listening room is a place.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no cover songs played there, so you know how when a recording artist go to a club and they want him to play cover tunes and all that, and he's all upset because he got to play, they're trying to get him to play covers. Well, it's the opposite way around. You come to the listening room, you'd be like, you can't play no covers. You got to write something, or you got to collaborate with somebody.
So for those who are listening and who may be, artists and would like to come out and showcase their music or what have you, where would they actually attend? Where is this taking place?
It's 2733 North Street is where it is in Baton Rouge. And we get all types of artists there, Theresa. I mean, it's local, regional, national, international. Obviously, when original music artists are coming into the States, they're looking for rooms to showcase their original talent. When artists are flowing from Nashville, New York, Austin, places like that, when they're traveling through on 55, 20, 10, or whatever, they're looking for a place to showcase. And we've had a lot of talent. I mean, we've had, like 2 weeks ago, the room was full with people from Finland. And
wow.
Yeah,
really?
We have that, we get music tourism, basically. And a regular club goer would not come to the listening room because it's not bad. It's not that kind of thing. You have to have an interest in the arts. And the listening room is a 501c3. We're a nonprofit. Okay. We're funded. We do a blues camp that's funded by the Arts Council and some independent funders. We have all kinds of different things that we do there besides just music too. We do a little comedy. We have some films that have been produced from there. We've gotten into a film mode, and I mean that was one of my dreams, is to have a black box theater. So I basically because of my travels, I encountered all that kind of stuff, and I played in those black box theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to create that vibe and have an open thing where it's about music and film. So my theory is, if you have 50 songwriters and 50 filmmakers, we already know what's going to happen, though. The filmmakers are going to sit there and they're going to hear some music and say, "Oh, that will go perfect with my film." Right. And then, the musicians are going to sit there and the filmmakers are going to say, "Man, I'm writing this song. I'm writing this movie, and it's about this guy that falls in love with this girl, and then she dumps him, and this happens." And the guy say, "Oh man, I got a song about that." So it's a perfect marriage for that kind of thing. And we're watching that collaboration. We're watching those collaborations happen every day. So that led us to a film festival. It led us to a television show. We have a TV show that's filmed out of it called Henry's Listening Room. And the TV show was aired in 4 different markets here for a year. It was based out of Channel 30, WLFT, under Dr. Fry. And then he got it on KGLA in New Orleans, ETEL 130, and Cox Cable 117. And that ran for a solid year. And then they sold the station to Jimmy Swaggart, of course, in a programming change. But check this out. So I had 52 episodes of the show. So I started marketing those episodes. And now the show is on in Salem, Oregon, and it's been on since September. And we just closed the deal with AOC channel in Lafayette. They have 2 cable stations there that's kind of like Acadiana Open Channel. And we just got them committed to do 50 episodes of the television show. Yeah, so a lot of things have grown out of the listening room, and we've been able to really make some magic there,
Wow.
Now we've had gospel on the TV show.
Oh,
Well, absolutely, that's gospel on the TV show.
Well,
you gotta have that.
I have a gospel group called Unique. It's with my daughter and 3 other young ladies. And so we're looking to do some things. So we're going to have to.
Well, let's do that. Yeah, we'll definitely. I know y'all probably got music videos already, right?
No, actually, we haven't been singing that long. So we're actually looking to start recording this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know you're going to do well because it's in your blood, baby. In your blood, girl. You're going to record some music.
I'm looking forward to it because I really think that our group really has something to offer. So I'm excited about it, and we're going to let God do what he normally is known for. He can make it happen, so.
That's right.
Yeah, so. There's no place like home. Need an agent to help you find the right home? Well, start your next chapter with Realtor Kashila Gorner at 225-278-3641. Again, that number is 225-278-3641. Purchase your new home today.
But I mean, if I can help in any way, let me know. And once y'all get things together, and you want to maybe we can record something for TV, that kind of thing. And I think because I'm planning to get into a lot of markets. I'm negotiating with Canada and a couple different other places in North America. So we'll see what happens. So, we got a lot. That
sounds like a great plan to me.
Oh yeah, we got a lot on the burner, man. I'm just like I said, anything music, I just try it, just see if it'll happen. And my theory is as long as I'm not starving or losing weight, I'm ready. You know, we can do the thing. That's what I mean. You know,
I can stand to lose some weight though.
That's all about real addiction. You know, food. You know, gotta have some food, baby. You know, but anything else we can tighten up on.
That's right. Do you have a restaurant as well?
Well, actually, we have a soul food festival.
Okay.
But what we do is we have a soul food side dish 3 nights a week.
Okay.
So, you know, like on a Thursday night, you can get some red beans or some white beans or something. On a Friday night fish fry. Right. It's like an all-you-can-eat fish fry. So it's
chitlins. You're not doing any chitlins?
No, we do that for the Soul Food Festival.
Oh, okay.
You know, I got a song that I wrote called "I Love My Soul Food."
Oh,
and chitlins is one of the lines in the song, man. And I talk about a lot of different stuff in there, and people just be laughing, you know. But it's down home Southern stuff, you know.
That is awesome. So yeah. I have a couple other questions that I wanted to ask you, and I know early in our conversation you mentioned about like the marketing process, putting out flyers, you know, and you know, a lot of that has changed, but I want to know your input. And really, I say it's changed, but still, you still have to do those type of things to really, get the word out. So we can't just depend 100% or totally on social media. But I want to know, you know, just comparing, you know, how things were back then, years and years ago, where we didn't have, you know, social media and these digital outlets now. So I want to know, what is your input? How do you feel about, you know, having social media and the digital outlets now as a tool to get your music recognized or what have you, or even just your marketing strategy? Do you feel that this is much better, or would you rather prefer, you know, the way that it was years ago? So what is your input?
Well, my theory about the music business in general, now, you know, this is not music, but the music business is to me, it's like I was introduced to a formula. It was called a music industry flow chart. If you Google it, you will actually find that there is a music industry flow chart if you've never seen one. And when you look at it, it's going to be the same as like a marketing plan or a blueprint for any other business, right? And you follow that particular flow chart, and you do it over and over and over, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds. And that's what turns things into big things instead of small things. So marketing, promotion, distribution, manufacturing, your marketing plan, and then you know, everything that's in the flow chart, when you apply that to the digital arena, that's all it really is. It's they're mirroring what was there already. Like basic formula has not changed. They just made it a virtual digital version of the same thing. So if you do both, you know, you can really do a mixed bag and make it happen. You can hit it from all angles because it's all demographically driven. You know, elderly people are not socially inclined on the internet. You know, they're still in a physical arena. So my publicist has to do things like television, print, you know, radio, you know, to reach a certain market segment. And then our social media people have to do something totally different to reach, you know, the social digital, you know. So one image that you make, like when I make an image and I'm promoting something, I'm making a billboard image for the highways, you know, I'm making an internet version for the internet, I'm making a television digital version that's pixels that are big enough for TV, you know, for a television screen, you know. So one image, I might have 5 different versions of what I'm promoting. And I might even go down to having like 4-ups that we chop up and put out as flyers, you know what I'm saying? But that same digital image can go up big enough to be blown up on a billboard on the side of the highway. And then the same thing on the the digital platforms. So I look at it as one and all the same. I don't see it as the old and the new or whatever. I just see it as building on the system that is already there and embracing it all. If you want to hit all of the demographics, because obviously it's about numbers. It's about driving numbers, and it's about sales and marketing and branding. Music business for me is name, image, and likeness. I learned that from the old heads when I first got in the game, from the record side. Name, image, and likeness. So the valuable thing about Theresa Perkins is her name and her image, right? First of all, her name, Perkins, right? Her dad was an artist. Her brother is a promoter. Her uncle was a club artist. So your name, right? Now, next, your image. Next, your image. What is your image? Your image is your church girl, you clean church girl. Beautiful smile, smart, right? That's your image. Those are the things you sell in show business, right? Those are the things that makes you sellable.
Yeah. And,
so name, image, and likeness. Now, when you say likeness, now, when you take the name Theresa Perkins and you put it with Exposure Magazine, now you've shared your likeness with them and they've shared their likeness with you, right? If you put it on the coffee cup, right? Now you shared your likeness on the coffee cup.
Yeah.
Put it on a T-shirt. Now you shared you shared it on clothing.
Yeah.
So it's name, image, and likeness. It never changes. That's the three things that you have that you can sell.
Right.
If you don't have those things intact, then of course you have nothing to sell.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. Like Henry Turner Jr. It's sales.
It's a brand. It's a brand. It's a brand.
That's right.
It's a brand. It's a brand.
So look,
and I've spun it off in so many different directions that sometimes I just feel so watered down. I'll be like, wow, this is crazy. Like I'm spreading like mayo or something, on the slice of bread. I'll be like, wow. But then it's also a big compliment to be able to utilize your brand, and to have a name, image, and likeness.
Right.
And, I contribute like all of the past and then the things that I do now to those three things. I mean, that's basically what allows me to do it. And when you get a publicist, like my publicist, she was a Hollywood publicist for years. She worked originally for Bob Hope. She worked over at American EMI Records, Liberty Records. So when you get people that understand, the branding and understand how to build name, image, and likeness, and you put them all on the same team, it's obvious you're going to have a winner because everybody understands what they're doing and they're following that industry flow chart, And those are some of the components that I talk about when I'm in conferences and I'm on panels and stuff, and people say, man, how do I figure out where I'm going or what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I use examples. I said, if two people were leaving Baton Rouge to go to Chicago tomorrow, and one person had a map and one person didn't, who do you think is going to get there first? The person with the map. Because they're going to go straight to where they got to go. Right. While the other person is knocking on doors saying, hey,
how do you get there?
I mean, I want to go to Chicago, and depending on how the person feels who opened the door, they might just say, man, I want to hear all that today. I don't know what Chicago is. Or they might open the door and say, just turn around and go in the opposite direction. It sends you the wrong way, whatever. But if you got a map, right, you go straight there. So you got to find that map. And the map is the industry flow chart in show business. Now, that industry flow chart that I use, believe it or not, came from the guy Eptide. He introduced it to me at 19 years old. And then I built up on that industry flow chart by adding the digital world to it. So if it said, publicity, digital publicity, if it says media, traditional media and digital media. So what we're doing right now is digital media. traditional media, if I was to go to Channel 9 and do the same thing.
Right.
So you just apply it and mirror it, to the basic formula. That's how I see the music business. I see it almost like a puzzle. I see it like a map, and you just create products and brands and plug it into the system, and just let it do what it do.
Right. Look, I want to go back to the film festival again too, because there may be individuals that are out there that actually producing a film. I don't think we discussed that, how can they get involved or even reach you as well, or whoever they need to reach out to be a part of that film festival? And the dates that it is coming up soon, correct?
Yeah, it's coming up in December, and it's the second and third weekends of December. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the second weekend, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the third weekend. So the whole thing with the film festival is, if you go to the nonprofit page, and that's Henry Turner Jr.'s Listening Room Museum Foundation. So if you go to htjmuseum.org, right, you can go there and you'll see a link that will take you to a submission form that you can use to submit. Now, also, Marsha Groff is the person that really programs the film festival. I started the film festival. It was my idea, but I am in no way a film expert and never want to even, it's a lot. But Marsha came from Hollywood, and she worked for Backlash Film Festival and a whole bunch of other people out there. So, she worked with a bunch of names in Hollywood. So she has the access to a bunch of things that can make some really good network and make some things happen. And so I thought it would be wise to do a film festival, because ultimately I wanted to be able to give music people the opportunity to interact with film. And this year, it's like the second year. We've got Department of Economic Development. It's been behind us from day one, trying to do grassroots and expand it. And this year we have some international film people coming in. We got a bunch of international films coming, and some good local and regional filmmakers as well, and some good panels. We have the guy from Music Supervisor that's probably going to come in and look for songs and stuff to pitch for television and film, inclusions. And this guy puts about 200 songs a year into film and television, right? So we got some really cool heads coming in for this thing. And
well, I'm looking forward to being a part of that as well.
Yeah, I definitely want to get you involved in that. We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, we I think from the exposure perspective, it's going to be great. And I think from the networking perspective, if people come with their A game, I think they'll be able to find somebody that they can network with or maybe collaborate or work with, And then, of course, like a lot of people who are not internet savvy, they can always call us, 225-802-9681. There's a number that they can call, and we can walk them through the process of how to submit and whatever happens.
Well, that sounds good. So listen, So those who would like to follow the legend himself, Mr. Henry Turner Jr., tell us, how can they follow you on social media? What platforms are you on?
Believe it or not, I'm still like a Facebook guy.
Don't worry, I am too.
I got a lot of groups on Facebook. All those festivals I produce, like Soul Food Festival, Taste of the Deep South, and the Mardi Gras Festival, the Film Festival, all that stuff have Facebook groups. And then, of course, we are on Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff too.
Okay.
So, they can find us if they're looking for us.
And they can see some of your videos and even hear your music on YouTube, huh?
Oh, absolutely. There are episodes of the television show on YouTube. If you put in Henry Turner Jr., all kinds of stuff is going to pop up, probably more than you'll be looking for, but
awesome, of course.
Yeah, if you Google my name, I mean, all kinds of stuff is going to come up. But if you're looking for the visual image and the music, you could just put Henry's Listening Room, and it's all going to pop up too. So
That sounds great.
we're on all kinds of platforms. We've had distribution for probably 20 years, so we're everywhere. I mean, we're everywhere. It amazes me. It's like, because with digital distribution, you can end up everywhere.
Right.
And sometimes I have to just look at it myself and go, "This is too much. This is overwhelming." It's a lot.
That is good. It is great. But I also tell people, you have all of those platforms and all of that available, but it's still called marketing. You have to still do some things to even, to make those things,
Happen.
happen to where you are being heard and seen and all of that. But it's great. But you already done. You don't plant it and sow your seed, so you have flourished already. But I'm talking about those who are just coming up, and
Theresa, is nonstop. It never ends. I'm always looking for the next promotion, the next marketing tool. I'm always talking to somebody at a conference or some business arena where I'm saying, look, if you could do, I got this slogan from this guy Michael Ashmore at Coca-Cola when I was about 25 years old. We used to go around, knock doors, and hustle, for sponsorships and all that stuff. And man, I'm in there with one of my good friends, Scott Lewis, at the time, and we over there, and we're pushing Coca-Cola. Come on, man, help us. We need Black History money. We need this. We need that. The guy just sits there with a pad. He writes everything down, and and when the meeting is almost to come to the end, so like the old heads are just sitting there like playing checkmate, all this stuff, psychologically. But I'm eager. I'm 25 years old, right? So I tell him, Mr. Ashmore, I said, man, what do you think? What do you think? Everybody else is quiet at the table, and I'm talking. I said, what do you think, man? I said, all the stuff we told you, man, about this, that, and the other, Black History, blah, blah, blah. Well, I said, well, Henry, let me just be clear with you, man. He said, the only thing I'm interested in is selling Coca-Colas. He said, now, if you could tell me where I could sell one more Coke that I'm already selling, I'm willing to fund anything you got. One more Coke that I'm already selling. I mean, now how you gonna do that, Theresa? How you gonna do that? How can you tell Coca-Cola where they can sell one more Coke than they already selling? First of all, you would need their total sales. You know what I'm saying? You would need the accountants. You would need the sales department. So in other words, what he's telling you is man, look,
then you should just say, just give me the sponsorship. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, basically, what he's telling you is you better become an ingenious marketer, man,
I know.
if you want some Coca-Cola money. So what I learned through that process is I look for people who know how to market. I look for people who have marketing machines, people who know what they're doing.
It's important.
And get those people involved.
Right.
And the only way you can get them involved is to get them to give you a piece of the action, and that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
That is awesome. Yeah. Well, look, I enjoyed this conversation with you. It was wonderful, and we must do it again. And again, I am looking forward to being a part of the film festival as well. I definitely.
And I'd like to invite you to the listening room when you get a chance. Come by the listening room and check it out.
Well, I would love to do that as well.
It's an interesting little oasis. I think you would like it.
Oh,
and I'm sure y'all gonna do some film, eventually. So
yeah, most certainly, for sure.
Yeah. So has anybody done a documentary on your father yet?
No, but you know what? Don't put something in my head because
somebody better do it. Somebody better do it.
Well, we'll have to work on that together since you're the one who first thought of it. I think it would be awesome because annually I give a musical tribute in his honor because of the things that he has done. So that really wouldn't be a bad thing, Mr. Henry. So we will definitely talk more about that for real.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely something that needs to be done to do that, because it's an interesting story. His story is an interesting story.
It is.
And then knowing his beginnings and where he came from, and knowing his parents and all.
Wow.
It's like he was an amazing marketer himself, man. He did a lot of cool stuff.
Oh, you just did something. I'm telling you. Because one thing about me that most people know, when I say I'm gonna do something, you can just put whatever you got and it's gonna happen. But you just really definitely you put something on my mind there.
Yeah. To see you and all your siblings and and everything, and everybody's gonna have some good stories. And man, that Black History thing out there in Hammond, and I've been out there. I went out there. I was out there about 4 months ago, man, and stopped through there. Me and one of my friends were rolling through, and we stopped. And we talked to them out there. The Black History Museum.
Yes.
They were talking about your dad and your grandfather and your grandmother and all that stuff.
Yeah, he's the one who initiated that museum. It was a dream of his, and I'll never forget the tears that even came, from my dad's eyes when that actually took place and came to fruition. He was overwhelmed about the vision that God allowed him to bring to pass. So it's a great thing, and it definitely this documentary needs to take place for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a valuable thing to your family forever,
Yeah.
to capture that legacy.
Okay, well we shall talk then for sure. Right. I'm telling you, we must. So there's another purpose and a reason for this conversation and this interview.
Well, I told you the projects never stop, man. It's on and on and on. It just never ever stop.
And with that being said, we want to bring that to the attention to all of those who may be listening. If you have a story to share or even have a vision that perhaps you want to write about, look, Mr. Henry Turner, he is the man, along with his team or what have you, that can make your vision come to life. Because that's really what this is all about as well, and the things that he's doing in the community, bringing music industry, the film industry, to give those individuals or those people who would love to make a film and never thought that they can do it. But I'm looking forward to it. So again, I will place as much information as I possibly can at the end of this conversation. If not, you all can reach out to me, and I'll have my number, my contact information. And then again, your number is 225-802-986-9861. So we're excited, and I'm really just so happy, and I'm just I don't know.
It's a pleasure, man.
I'm just lost for words because
it's a really cool pleasure, man. It's I knew it would be fun, man. You know what I really enjoyed though? Communicating with you, knowing that you didn't know who I was, but I knew. And I'm talking really knew who you were.
Yeah, because you brought up my grandmother and said her name, Ciola.
Let me see what George's daughter is saying today. How cool, man. Hey, when you get a chance to talk to your brother Ronnie, right? And you talk to him about me, he's gonna laugh, man. Me and him had some great times, and we've done a lot of cool stuff. And he came to my birthday party last year, and I filmed it. And he and I told some stories, man, about some stuff when we were young in the music business. And he told him, he said, man, I'm going to say this one time. And I know y'all not going to believe me, but I'm going to tell you the truth. He said, Henry Turner's the reason that I actually got in the music business in Baton Rouge.
Oh, wow, really?
And we were laughing about it, you know, because nobody knows that but me and him and a handful of other people.
Yeah.
He's come to stay at my house, man.
Oh.
Man. I mean, the first limousine he bought, the first time he booked Mars Day and the time, you know, all that kind of stuff. I was around for all of that. The first time your dad told him, all right, put on a suit, Ronnie, because, you know, we're not going to go and do some other stuff. And he went, I remember he would go get, you know, these different places, you know, because George knew a lot of good venues, and he would go get these different places and help Ronnie bring in like Roger Troutman and Zapp and stuff like that. And people didn't know that, but, you know, I knew that, you know, George was doing it, you know, whatever. It was cool, man. It was cool.
Yes, indeed.
Got a lot of history. I got a lot of history.
Yes, man. You do. Yes, you do, for sure. So again, look, I want to leave this with you too. I want you to know this is our motto, and I'm telling you, you fit the part. I want you to know, Mr. Henry Turner, your voice matters. So
thank you.
That is our motto, because it does, and it meant a lot to me, and I enjoyed this interview tremendously.
Oh, the pleasure was mine, and I look forward to you know, talking to you again at some point, and hopefully we'll be talking about some other cool things. You know?
Oh yes, for sure. Yeah. That's a done deal.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, take care.
Okay, you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Are you looking for the key to your castle? Choose a mortgage company that works for you. Ambassador Mortgage. Don't miss out on your dream home. Pick up the phone now. 225-341-3551. Health Driven LLC. Change your lifestyle today. Gain the energy that you need. Let us help you look and feel like you used to. Driven by health, powered by life. You will not be disappointed when you see the results. Call us now at 225-242-9817.